In this video, we'll learn how to sand a wooden pallet. When you find a wooden pallet you used to work with, they're often in a bad condition. So sanding them down is often necessary to make some smoother and to give them a more even surface. To sand down a wooden pallet, you will need an electrical detail sander, or a flat sanding block and a manual triangular sander, sandpaper with varying grit sizes 40, 80, 120, a brush, a vacuum, and a soft cloth, 2 wooden supports, safety gloves, and an anti-dust face mask. To successfully sand your wood, you will need to use sandpaper of varying grit sizes, going from a more coarse to a more finer grit size. The coarser grit size will get rid of any large imperfections in the wood, while the finer grit size will allow for a smoother finish. Always sand in a well-ventilated room, or otherwise outdoors. Begin sanding the areas that are most difficult to access using a detail sander and sandpaper of grit size 40. If you don't have an electric detail sander, find a block of wood and wrap some sandpaper around it, and then use it to sand down the areas of wood which are difficult to access. Then sand the slats with a sanding block or an electric sander. Brush down your wood to remove any dust. Turn over and continue sanding the underside of the pallet. Continue sanding down using the 80 medium grit size sandpaper to get rid of any marks made from the 40 coarse grit size sandpaper. Do the same switching to the 120, the fine grit size, sandpaper, which will enable you to achieve an even smoother finish. Vacuum away any dust. And finish off by wiping down your pallet with a damp cloth. Your pallet is now ready to be painted, stained, or varnished.